So if you pick something out ahead of you, like a mountain or whatever, it's kind of a visual reference that, hey, I'm coming back to my initial heading.
Right.
So say you start on a heading on north, you pick something out there to the north, and then when you come back around, you see that thing coming back into view. And it's just a reminder, so that you don't have to be staring at the heading indicator so much the whole time.
Got it.
So the way the maneuver works is get yourself on a heading and altitude. I usually have people fly this about 90 knots. So get the aircraft to about 90 knots, which is usually around 2,300 RPM, something like that.
Okay.
And to do the maneuver, you just start rolling to a turn like you normally would, but you just keep banking until you get to about 45 degrees. So on the heading indicator, the attitude indicator, the top notch is level. Each one of these is 10 degrees of bank, so that's 10, 20, 30 degrees bank to the right, or 10, 20.
45 is in between, and then 60 is the last.
You got it. So 45 is right there.
Okay.
So you roll towards 45 degrees of bank. As you roll into the maneuver, you add a little bit of power, not much, maybe just like about 100, 150 RPMs.
Okay.
Just because otherwise you're going to lose a little bit of airspeed. And so what kind of the way the maneuver is flown is as you roll into it, the aircraft tends to want to lose, the nose tends to want to drop. So you anticipate and add a little bit of back pressure as you roll into it. What you do is you initially as you roll into it, you check your altimeter and your vertical speed indicator. These two guys, altimeter and vertical speed.
Lock them.
To make sure that you're maintaining your constant altitude.
Okay.
Once you've done that, I'll show you there's a kind of a visual trick that you can use.
On the dash?
Yeah.
Sight line where the horizon hits the cowling, right?
You got it.
Okay.
Have we done this before? Or have you already
We
done
have
this
not.
But you've learned about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so wherever the horizon hits the cowling, just hold it right there, and that will be an indicator of whether you need back pressure.
Okay.
And then from time to time, you're going to be checking these two instruments to make sure that you're level. You're going to be checking to make sure that your airspeed is about the same.
And typically, is it harder to maintain going right or harder to go left and maintain?
Most students tend to lose altitude when they go to the left and climb when they go to the right. And that's because when you're on the left, you're on the low side of the plane, and so when you look at the nose, it's above the horizon, and so you compensate for that, and you don't give it enough back pressure. On the other side, when you're on the right turn, you're on the high side of the plane, and the nose is below you, and so it's a different sight picture, basically. So that's what it all comes down to, the two different sight pictures.
Okay.
When you take your check ride, the standards for this is that you have to maintain altitude within 100 feet, speed within 10 knots, and you have to roll out on the same heading you started on within 10 degrees. So, it takes a little bit of work. You probably won't get it right the first time, but it's and the whole purpose of this is we don't really typically use steep turns in normal flight. It's really just a training maneuver to get you to just get, learn to maneuver the aircraft, get better control, and so forth.
So you start the rollout at 10 degrees before you get there?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe 10, 15 degrees before.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah. When I do it, I usually just kind of look at the reference.
The marker.
As it's kind of coming into view.
Okay.
Rolling slow. Yeah. So we'll do that. I might get you in the foggles a little bit more today. Maybe
Cool.
do some climbing and descending turns. And then, based on how much time we have, we'll start working on ground reference maneuvers. So ground reference maneuvers, there's two of them that we're going to practice that are maneuvers that are flown 1,000 feet above the ground, around 1,000 feet above the ground. So you're fairly low. And what they're about is flying a particular ground track over the land. Let's go into the conference computers first.
Okay.
And it's just really flying a circular ground track over the ground. So what you do is you pick a point on the ground. By point, it could be any identifiable kind of small thing, like it could be a building or it could be a tree, as long as it's easy to pick out the tree. It's like if there's one tree in a field.
Okay.
It could be like two roads, intersection of two roads is a really good one. but we'll talk about picking good places to do it, because you will have to pick your own point on the check ride. Once you establish that, the whole goal is to fly, just come flying in and fly a perfect circle around it. When we say perfect circle, we're talking about if, you know, the track over the ground, really. So if there's no wind, it's really pretty easy, just kind of hold a constant bank. But if there's wind, let's say the wind is coming from the north, if you don't do any correction for the wind, what happens is when you're on this side, you get pushed away, and then when you're on this side, you get pushed towards it, okay? So you have to correct for the wind. The way you do that, theoretically, is whenever you're downwind, whenever you're going the same wind direction the wind's blowing, you have a steeper bank angle, because it's pushing you away, so you need to bank steeper to keep yourself in close. And then as you get into an upwind situation, you have a more shallow. So the way they would go is it would go from, this would be your steepest bank angle right here, and it would become more and more shallow until you were right here, and then that would be your shallowest bank angle, and then it would go back to steepening. So it's steepening, shallowing, just like that. In reality, kind of the way I fly it is I just kind of constantly keep an eye on the point and make the little adjustments to keep myself where I need to be.
Okay. And how much are we focusing on coordinated flight in this procedure?
You want to remain in coordinated flight, yeah. But
so using the rudder as well?
Yeah, but that's not really that hard, because you're not, for the most part, you're making very small adjustments, so it doesn't take a lot of footwork on that. Okay. So there's a number of challenges to this. One of the challenges is, number one, determining the wind directions, because by the standard is you enter the maneuver downwind. So wherever direction the wind is blowing, you enter from that same direction. So to determine the wind direction. How do we do that? Well, it's kind of hard. The best indicator is smoke. If you can see some smoke somewhere, that's perfect. Sometimes you can look over the water and see kind of ripple patterns that will tell you. If you can see flags are pretty hard to see from the air, but if you can see if there's a flag that's big enough or something like that, you might be able to tell. If none of that works, you can just kind of determine, you can kind of assume that it's similar to what we have here. Yeah, because we won't be too far away. So you can just make that assumption, and then as you fly the maneuver, you'll probably get a sense of what the real wind direction is. Okay. So in the case that it was that the wind was from the north, you would enter from the north. And you want to enter on so if you're coming from the north, you're going to be over here, which is on the right side, coming from that direction. And the reason you want to enter from the right side is because you're sitting over here on that side of the plane, and you want to be on the same side as the point is. So you're going to fly, it's always done as a left turn. Yep. Okay.
It's never done as a right turn then?
It's never done as a right turn.
Okay.
Yep. So it's done as a left turn. What else? Picking the point, we'll talk more about it, but you know, number one, it needs to be easily identifiable. Number two, it shouldn't be in a super populated area, because you're flying fairly low, and so you don't want to make a lot of noise for people. So somewhere kind of out in the woods a little bit, or out in the country. Okay. Number three, you should, every time you do this, you should identify what you're going to do if the engine fails, because you're low. You're going to have very little time. So, you know, on the test, you should say to the examiner, well, if something goes wrong, I'm going to land over there in that field. Okay, so have something picked out. And let's see. And remember that the maneuver is, I think I have it, 600 to 1,000 feet above the ground. I think that's what it says in these standards. So 600 to 1,000 feet above the ground. So one of the tricks is you kind of need to have a sense of how high the ground is in that area. And you can get that from the sectional chart, but not exactly. So you have to kind of make a bit of an estimate there. Okay. So if we did it like right here over Payne Field, we'd pretty much be at 12 to pattern altitude, which is 1,600. Okay. I usually like to go higher, so I always tell people do it at 1,000 above. Why? Because, you know, I want to have more time if the engine quits to figure things out. Right. 600 feet gives you about half the time as 1,000 feet. So, so that's that maneuver. And then one other one that we'll work on is called S-turns. So for the first one, we used a point. For this one, we use a line as our reference. So like a road or a power line or anything on the ground that just a straight line is our reference. Same thing, picking the point, it needs to be identifiable, it needs to be in a non-populated area, you need to identify a landing area. And again, same thing, you're going to fly the maneuver at 600 to 1,000 feet above it. Again, you're going to need to determine wind direction. And again, if possible, you want to enter downwind. So enter flying this way. Now this is a little bit more difficult because with a point, you can always, no matter what the wind direction is, you can always enter downwind. With a line, not necessarily true. Because if the line comes from an angle like that, well, I would enter on this side because it's still, this wind has got a component. It's got a component this way and it's got a component this way. So it is still downwind, but it's at an angle. So with a line, don't worry too much about, that the line is exactly perpendicular to the wind.
So if the wind was coming at that 45, you would enter it in at a 45?
Nope, I'd enter just like this.
Okay.
Always enter perpendicular.
Always perpendicular,
Yep.
okay.
So it's really, you just fly an S pattern over the road. That's all you do. And so the goal would be that it's that both sides are the same, right? The ground track, it looks exactly the same if you saw it from above. So, again, if the wind's coming from up here, and if you don't correct, you're going to get really far away up here, and you're going to be really close here. And I've seen people fly like that. So again, what they say, in theory, is that when you're flying this way, it's steeper, and then it becomes more shallow as you become this way, and then it becomes more steep. If you really think about it, this is really, if you put these two together, it turns around a point. It's just that you're doing each half of the turn in different directions.
I see. Okay.
So the way this one works is you cross the road, you're perpendicular to the road, so your track is at a 90-degree angle to the road.
Okay.
As soon as you
cross, it's going to be a steep turn?
It shouldn't be any more than like 45 degrees. It really depends on the wind and stuff.
Okay.
But you don't want to get into anything steeper than about 45 degrees.
Okay.
It's not that steep. It shouldn't have to be that steep. So you do the turn, and every time you cross the road, the aircraft should be perpendicular to the road, and the wings should be level. So as you come around, the wings level, and you should be perpendicular. So you don't want to be crossing it like that, right? With the plane's going that way. You want to be crossing it where the wings are parallel to the road. So
I think the ground track will be easy, but maintaining altitude will be the challenge.
And that is the big challenge. Honestly, the examiners on this, they don't really have a way of looking at your ground track. I mean, they have a sense of it. They can tell, oh my gosh, you got like really far away. But I think, more than, I think the chances that that you would fail the maneuver based on the ground track, more likely is that you would fail the maneuver based on altitude.
Okay.
Yeah. And this one also has, you should maintain a constant airspeed throughout, just like the steep turns we talked about. The airspeed should be constant within 10 knots. But honestly, if you maintain the altitude, the speed takes care of itself. Like in the steep turns, what happens is people start losing altitude, the nose comes down, the speed builds up. So as long as you maintain your altitude, you don't really have to worry about speed that much.
Do you have to worry about the throttle during these?
Well, like I said, during the steep turn, and this guy, the throttle, you don't touch the throttle, okay? And the steep turns, as you roll into it, you add like about 100 RPMs. And as you roll out, you just reduce those back. And so that should keep your speed.
So I'm doing that in the S-turns as well, or no?
Nope.
No?
No. It's constant throttle.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the S-turns and the turns around a point aren't that steep. They shouldn't be that steep of a bank that would affect your speed. Okay. Questions?
Nope.
All right, let's head on out. You already did pre-flight, right?
Yep. Okay, passenger safety briefing. Talking about acronym safety, seatbelts on, securely fasten, make sure passengers know how to buckle and unbuckle, tighten. Passenger comfort, we have air vents here if you need some air. Seats are adjustable if you need to scoot your chair back, you can do that. If you get motion sickness or sick, we have barf bags in the back. If in the event of a fire, if you need a fire extinguisher, there is none on board, but there is over at the fueling station as well as inside Regal Air. Traffic in the emergency exits. There's 2 exits to the aircraft, yours and mine. To open the door, pull the latch, and exit to the rear. Traffic in the air. If you see any traffic nearby, please let me know, and I will keep my eyes out as traffic as well. Why? Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Seatbelts fastened. Fuel shut-off valve set to on. Okay. Electrical avionics are off. Circuit breakers all in. Brakes hold. Okay. Starting engine, mixture full rich. Throttle open, 1/4 inch. Carb heat set to cold. Master switch on. Okay, beacon lights on. Okay, beacon lights on. Propeller area clear. Clear! Ignition switch start. Let's prime it. Two shots. Okay. Again. Oh yeah. All right. Okay. Oil pressure in the green, mixture lean, flaps up, and brakes, no, we're going to do radios. Return. Alright, let's just a little bit. There we go.
Potential aircraft main field information here. Current paint altimeter 30, crushing 2999.
So we're gonna do ATIS. Yep. 128.65.
You got it.
128.65.
Painfield Airport information, Sierra 1753 Zulu, wind 340 at 3, visibility 10, 1000 scattered, ceiling 1600 overcast, temperature 12, dew point 9er, altimeter 29er, 9er. RNAV approach in use, arriving and departing, runway 34 left, then runway 34 right. Notice the airman. Hazardous weather information for Western Washington available on flight service frequencies. Advise on initial contact, you have Sierra.
Alright, let me hear that one more time.
Painfield Airport information, Sierra 1753 Zulu, wind 340 at 3, visibility 10, 1000 scattered, ceiling 1600 overcast, temperature 12, dew point 9er, altimeter 29er, 9er. RNAV approach in use, arriving and departing, runway 34 left.
Did you hear anything in there that caught your attention?
Hazardous weather information for Western Washington available on flight service
The overcast at 1,000?
Advise on initial
1,600.
contact, you have Sierra.
Yeah. So that's right at the limit, pretty much the legal limit for touch and goes here at Payne.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Because it's at the pattern altitude?
Well, it's 1,600 above the ground, which the ground is 600 feet here, so it would be on the altimeter, that would be at 2,200, right?
Okay.
Because the ground is, right now we're at 600. It should be at 600 actually if you set the altimeter setting of 299er, which they just told us. Yep, so that's the altitude. So the clouds are 1,600 feet. They always tell the clouds in above ground level. So the clouds are 1,600 above this. So if you add 1,600 to you're going to get at 2,200. That's what, if we flew into the clouds, it would say 2,200. So when we're at 1,600, 1,000 feet above where we are right now, which is a pattern altitude, the clouds are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 feet above us.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I know it's a little bit difficult. People get confused on that. But just remember, the clouds are always reported as how many feet above the ground.
Okay.
You never say clouds above sea level, because what if the clouds were 500 feet above sea level? We're 600. Clouds could be at 500 feet above sea level, which would mean if we went down the hill towards the water, we'd go 100 feet below where we are right now, and that's where we would come out of the clouds. And here it would just be fog. We would be in the clouds.
Right.
But if they were reporting it as a sea level, it just doesn't make sense. So they always report it as above the ground level at the airport that's reporting it, okay?
Got it.
So the whole thing is, based on what they're telling us, we're only going to be 600 feet below the clouds if we stay in the pattern. Well, for this airspace, the VFR minimum is that we need to be 500 feet below. So we're 500 plus we got an extra 100 feet there margin. But all I'm saying is, it's pretty low, so pretty much the only thing we can do is stay in the pattern today. So I had planned to fly out. What we'll do is we'll taxi east and request touch and goes, and we'll maybe stay in the pattern once and kind of get a sense of what the clouds are like.
Okay.
We might be able to depart out to the east, but it's kind of crazy. I checked the weather this morning from home, and I'm like, wow, it was like 4,000, plenty of ceiling, so it's come down. Okay. As does here in the wintertime. It's kind of always like this. So we will, see, 3-4, so we can taxi out to the right and do brake check.
Brake check, all right. Right check.
Okay.
Left check. And both check.
Okay.
Your
I have
flight
controls. I have controls. All right. Left and both. All right, you have controls.
I have controls.
You have controls.
Okay.
Alrighty. They're up there. It looks pretty okay to me.
We're going out this way?
We'll just stop kind of right in here because we could get either direction. We have the option to go either to the right or the left. Sometimes people will pull right up to the line, and then if they're not given, that's Delta, so they'll pull right up to Delta. If they're not given Delta, if they said go golf, which is over here, well, to actually turn around, your wing is going to go into that. None of your aircraft should cross the line.
I see.
Otherwise, you're kind of in that space.
Okay. So we're going to call up Payne Ground Cessna 5490 Bravo at Regal with information Sierra requesting departure to...
Just requesting touch and goes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's higher than 1,600.
All right. Cessna 5490 Bravo at Rego with information Sierra requesting touch and go.
I'll be going to say 3-4 right via Delta Golf. Oops, look, it had an airman.
Hazardous weather information for Western Washington available on...
Two things. We had this already turned down, and we were also on the ATIS.
Okay.
So always...
So nobody hears us on ATIS then, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So whenever here's the thing to do. So when you change it, don't just change it. He didn't test it. Right now, if you made the announcement, he would read back, but we wouldn't hear him.
Right.
So pull it out. Oh, I don't hear anything. Oh, it's because my volume's down. So that's why every time I change, I pull it out first, and I should hear that static.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
All right. So if it's down,
pull it out.
I'll hear it.
Departure as filed, maintain.
You're either going to hear static, or if somebody's on the frequency, you'll hear them talking.
After departure. Departure frequency 128.5, squawk 1511.
Is it okay to leave it out? Oh no.
I would leave it in. Yeah. Because if you leave it out, then when no one's talking, you're going to hear static the whole time. Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. I think. Let's see. Wait until he says read back correct, because somebody's reading.
Coldstream 43 Hotel, read back correct. Advise ground when you're ready to taxi.
Ground Cessna 5490 Bravo at Regal with information Sierra requesting touch and go.
5490 Bravo, paying ground runway 34 right, taxi via Delta Golf.
34 right, taxi via Delta Golf, 90 Bravo.
Roger.
Delta Golf. Delta Golf. Okay, so we're going to the right then?
Yep.
All right. Okay. I did have a couple questions, confusion about what altitude we need to stay in the pattern versus flying out. When can I turn out? You know, what altitude am I aiming for?
Okay. Well, yeah. So when you take off, your first leg in the pattern is called the upwind leg. You're flying the same way you just took off. The FAA says that you should stay on that upwind leg until you're 300 feet below the pattern altitude, which would be exactly 1,300 here. But that's not a law. That's just kind of a recommended thing. When I trained, my instructor told me to turn at 400 feet above the ground. So if we did that, we would be at 1,000 feet. And I believe Regal, I think the instructors, I have to check it, I believe the instructor's handbook says turn 500 feet above the ground. So it's a very gray area, and it's not regulatory. One of the things about going all the way up to 13 is that you extend your upwind further, right? Which I think sometimes the tower likes us to turn a little bit earlier.
I see.
So
we're going to turn into here.
Yep. So I know that was a really confusing answer. I usually teach my students to turn at 1,300 because that's what the FAA calls for.
Okay.
Sometimes tower will tell you to turn crosswind.
I see.
Just because they want to get you out of the way of other aircraft taking off.
Okay, checklist here. Before takeoff, cabin doors latched.
Mine's latched and the window is secure.
Latched, window secure. Flight controls free and correct. So up. Rudder. Okay. All trim tabs set for takeoff. Flight instruments set, so we got indicated airspeed of 0, artificial horizons level, blue over black, altimeter set to 1,600, 29909, Heading indicator, we are 1.5 ticks to the left of east, 1.5. Okay. Vertical airspeed is 0. Okay.
Level 2 paying ground, proceed as requested.
Fuel shutoff valve set to on, mixture rich, all the way in. Okay, throttle 1700 RPM. All right, magnetos check.
And when you do this, don't forget to tighten her down. That's what it says. Throttle and then friction lock set.
Oh, okay.
So that holds it. Otherwise, this can kind of drift.
Gotcha. Okay. We're going left. Drop at about 70, 80.
Okay.
Back up to both. Back to 17. And right. Drop of about 50, 40.
Okay.
Okay. Back to both. Okay. Power back to idle.
Yeah, just loosen her up. There we go. And again, tighten it once you get to 1,000, so it'll hold that.
I'm gonna go.
Oh, you're gonna do the
carb
idle test.
Yep. Okay. Carb heat off. Back to 1,000. Okay. Friction lock set. Okay. Then we've got. I guess I missed a couple things here during the 1700 RPM, didn't I? Oil pressure, temperature, and green ammeter and suction.
Okay, let's run it back up.
All right. So,
And ground, push at 5, A2, taxi from Castle Cook. Push at 582, paying ground, runway 34 left, taxi via Bravo Alpha.
carb heat check is off.
Bravo Alpha, 34 left,
Oil
push at
pressure,
582.
temperature in the green.
Yep.
Ammeter check, 28 and 0 amps. Okay.
Push at 582, I didn't catch it, but if I give information, Sierra.
Throttle.
We have Sierra, push at 582. Thank you.
Okay. All right, departure briefing.
Okay, ground Seminole 746 Alpha is at the Regal Air with ready for taxi IFR.
For departure
Seminole
briefing,
746 Alpha, paying ground, runway
talk about
34
two
left at
things,
Alpha
speeds and what to
7,
do in an
taxi via Delta
emergency.
Juliet Alpha.
we're going to
Juliet Alpha
rotate
to
at
Alpha
50 knots and climb for 67 VY.
Yeah.
If engine fails after takeoff, we're going to fly for a target 60 knots for best glide speed, then find a place to land, maintaining airspeed, and control the aircraft.
Yeah.
In the event of an engine failure, before rotation, I'm going to bring the power back to idle, smoothly apply the brakes, and exit the runway.
Yeah.
In the event of an engine failure after rotation or after takeoff with suitable runway left, I'm going to nose the plane down, bring the throttle back to idle, and just land the plane as I normally would.
Okay.
In the event of an engine failure after takeoff without any runway left, and if we're below 1,000 feet, we're not going to turn back to the runway. We're going to land straight ahead somewhere near, most likely Boeing plant, which has plenty of concrete for us to land. And
Oh, not this way because, actually, yeah, you're right. We're going north. That's correct. So we would turn left pretty much after takeoff.
got it. Okay, and if we have an engine failure on the ground and it looks like we might strike something, I'm going to pull the throttle to idle, pull the mixture lean, turn fuel selector off, turn the ignition off, master switch off. We don't want the engine to run or propeller striking anything. That would lead to a fire.
Sounds good.
709 Pac Quebec, paying ground, taxi central via Gulf.
Okay.
Via Gulf,
Is that it?
correct.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go. Alright, so let's switch to
See, now after departure briefing, there's...
departure briefing, the radio sets.
Okay.
We're going to set that to, so if we're 3-4 right, 120.2.
Let's pull up to the line before we do that, because we're still officially taxiing until we get up to that line.
Alright.
Although I can't imagine why he'd want to call us. There's no one else around, but the right thing to do.
radio set 120.2, so we're gonna go 120.2. Okay, transponder set alt ground, pulse nav lights. Okay, pulse nav landing lights. So for this, we want, do we need to have our taxi lights on during the day? Yeah?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, just the beacon?
Yeah, so what we'll use for anti-collision, on this plane we have strobe.
Bravo, Paint Tower, you ready to go?
Strobe, okay.
We are ready to go, 90 Bravo.
Cessna 90 Bravo, make right traffic, runway 34 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, 34 right, 90 Bravo.
Alright, so 767, runway 34 right, clear touch and go.
Clear touch and go, 34 right, 77.
So 23 Charlie, follow Cessna ahead, runway 34 right, clear touch and go.
See what those clouds
Follow that traffic for touch and go, 34 right, 23 Charlie.
Sorry, I jumped on him, but he offered it, so I thought we'd jump in before.
You mind holding that for me?
Nope.
Thank you.
Where can I'm just going to set it right here.
All right.
All right, no brakes.
No brakes.
Airspeed's alive, 45.
We're at 50, rotate.
Okay. And we're flying, first flight of the week.
Alright.
Pitch for 67.
Positive rate key, go.
Yeah, this pitch for
Push at 582, Paint Tower, runway 34 left, clear takeoff.
Now, if the engine failed right now, there's a little white concrete area right there. I would go land right there.
I see. Okay.
Or I would land in that Boeing strip of concrete there. There's some trucks out there, but I think I could miss them.
Okay.
And pretty much anywhere to the left. I mean, the runway, I could probably make it over to that runway. Might not land straight on it, but... Oh yeah, there are some low clouds up here. Paint Tower, Cessna 90 Bravo, request west departure.
Cessna 90 Bravo, make a right down departure. I'll call your turn to the west, Challenger departing through further.
90 Bravo, roger. Let's level off here, because they got low clouds over here. Okay. Let's stay at about 15. Let's go ahead and turn down crosswind. See, the clouds are right here. They are pretty low over here.
We want to get under them?
Yeah, just pull your power back to about 23.
23.
Yeah. These are really close. Let's turn this way. And turn downwind. Fly heading about 160.
160.
Yeah. And yeah, 1500 is pretty good. So I think they're definitely over here. They're lower than 1600. Those look like they're about 1400.
Cessna 90 Bravo, reaching 2100 westbound approved.
1,600 westbound approved, 90 Bravo.
1,600.
Yeah, which is only 100 feet above.
So when can I go westbound?
Well, he wants us to climb to 1,600, but I don't want to climb yet.
Okay.
Right now, we're going to stay at 1,500 for the clouds right now, 90 Bravo.
Number 90 Bravo, roger.
And yeah, let's climb over this way. You see that water over there? That's
I'll see your discretion. You can start the westbound turn.
Roger, Bravo, roger, we'll turn westbound. You can go ahead and turn to west, we'll fly right over the airport, pretty much. Stay at this altitude. Once we get past the clouds over here, we can climb, I believe. Training here is tricky in this time of year. Some days. A good view of the airport, huh? Very nice view. climb up to 2500.
Wow, we're just right up against those clouds.
Yeah.
Number 767, runway 348, clear touch and go. Clear touch and go, 34 right, 767. Number 23 Charlie, number 2, runway 348, clear touch and go.
Alright, you can start climbing up to 2,500, I think. Should be alright. Alright, 2,500.
Number 23 Charlie, roger. You want the westbound after the touch and go? Yes, please. 23 Charlie. Number 23 Charlie, roger. I have your request on the go. Fly straight out. I'll call your return. On the go, we'll fly straight out and you're 4 westbound, 23 Charlie.
So what happens if we were about to go into clouds and Power doesn't know that, but we needed to go the other way. He told us to go into it.
Just let him know. Just let him know. Unable to, if he says fly a certain heading and he can't do it because of clouds, just say unable because of clouds.
Okay.
I totally understand that. So we're just passing these. These are at about 2,000, which would be, 1,400. Well, it's actually at 2,000 above the ground here because the ground is the water. Yep. Cruise up to 2,500. 2,500.
Alright, leveling off.
Go. Yeah, just fly your current heading. We'll get a little bit further away from the class Delta. We're still in the class Delta.
We're going to cruise now.
Yep.
Well, we would be out of class Delta right about halfway out in between.
Yeah, but it's kind of a circle, and it goes. There's actually an old cannery over there in that bay. It's. I don't think you can see it, but we're definitely out of it. We're just left the circle just now. See,
okay.
The circle is the dashed line, so we just left it. Okay. Alrighty, let's get a little bit closer over here to the Kitsap Peninsula.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Kitsap right there. This is Whidbey over here.
I always get confused.
Yeah. And we'll do steep turns first. So, a little bit more of a tricky day today because you shouldn't have any trouble as far as finding that reference, that visual reference.
Number 23 Charlie, westbound approved. Westbound number 23 Charlie, thank you.
So it looks like the wind is going this direction.
November 767, runway 348, clear for the option. Clear for the option, 34 right, 767.
Yeah, and that kind of jives because they said it is from 340, so it should be coming out from the right to the left.
Okay.
That plane, they said it was coming out of the north, pretty much. 340.
November 746 Alpha Team Tower.
Don't need this anymore.
76 takeoff.
What are you doing?
So this, oops, there we go. That frequency frequency is, it's called air-to-air. So people that are training like us can announce where they are and what they're doing. That's kind of what I listen to while we...
Guard? Consider guard?
It's called, it's the air-to-air frequency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A lot of times, like if people are, excuse me, sometimes there'll be flights of more than one aircraft together, flying together, whether in formation or just kind of flying together close by, and so they will use that frequency to stay in touch with each other. Alrighty, I'll take controls. I'm going to quickly demonstrate a steep turn. I have controls. You have controls? I'm going to, let's see here, what am I going to do? I'm going to turn over this away, 2500. Actually, let's do a quick clearing turn, so I'll kind of come around this way. We'll look for traffic. Alright, I don't see anybody. We'll turn back over this way. Don't see anybody on the iPad. I'm going to take a heading of about maybe 300. Let's see how this works out. That very first hill over there, that very first hill is going to be my reference. Okay. So I'm going to start it on a heading of 285. That's pretty much right on. And on an altitude of 2,500, I'm going to get speed up just a little bit. So I'm going to set it at 3,300. I want to get up to about 90 knots for this maneuver. That's pretty close to 90. At about 2,300 RPMs, 2,500 feet. There we go. Alrighty, I'm going to do one to the left, and here we go. So I'm just going to roll into a normal turn. As I roll past about 30 degrees of bank, I'm just going to add about 100 RPMs and come all the way around to 45 degrees. And I'm checking right here and here to make sure that my altitude is good, which it is. And so, like we said, I just look at that side picture. I look at where the horizon is touching the nose of the aircraft, and I just hold that. I keep wanting to climb a little bit, so I'll just reduce a little bit. I need to be a little bit steeper too. So there we go. And I can see there's that hill. Pull that power back out. Roll level. There was a little bump, which was our wake. Still at 90 and still at 2,500. So I flew that about pretty dang good. Yeah, I've done a bunch of those. Alright, you have controls. I don't think I was quite at 45 for part of it. I might have been around 40. Yeah.
So, as I'm banking, I'm giving a little bit more speed. Yeah, about 100, right?
About 100 to maybe 150.
Alright, here we go. Ready?
Alright. Alright, you should have added your power by now. You're doing the normal thing that people do, and that's they descend. Oh, yeah. Right? Yep. And when you descend, you get all kind of airspeed on it. That's what happens. There's that hill. So not bad for a first time. You only lost 100 feet. I've seen much worse. So feedback, as you roll past about 30 degrees, go ahead and add that power in.
Okay.
You waited until you were already in it, so you went from 90 to 80 just because you didn't add power.
I got it. Okay.
And then, so anticipate you're going to need back pressure, so you let that nose come down, and that's kind of what most people do. Okay. So just anticipate it.
All right.
If you start losing a lot of altitude, what they say and what's expected, instead of just pulling back, if you can shallow out the bank just a little bit. So maybe go from 45 to 40 or 35 or something, and pull the nose up, and then roll back into the bank. What happens is if you're in a steep bank and you pull back on the nose, it creates a lot of G-force, a lot of stress on the aircraft structure.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's get yourself stabilized at 90 knots on your heading. Okay. Do it. Hold it. Alright. About 45, about halfway. There you go. There we go. pressure. There's your hill. That was much better. That was to standards. You lost some airspeed there, but that was to standards. You're a little bit off on your heading, but that was not bad. Go around one more time? Sure. All right. You kind of turned past your, I don't know. Yeah. And the thing on that was you started it, you were like at 80 knots when you started it. So you still, I think you stayed within 10 knots. But that wasn't too bad. Let's do a quick clearing turn either way you want to turn just to check the traffic. Don't see anything on the iPad. Starting to see autumn colors down there. Good. Actually, let's keep on coming around and let's turn back maybe towards the east for the next one. Alrighty, I don't know if maybe you can use just south would be as a reference. I can see those green airplanes lined up over on the horizon. Oh yeah, is that what those are? Yeah. Alright, and let's try a couple to the right. I'm at 90, get us up to... You can do it at this altitude, okay. As long as you maintain. Alright. That was pretty good. All feedback I'd give you on that is I feel like in the beginning you were trying to climb back up to your altitude. You had the nose up, so you were like, again, you were like around 80 something. But like right now it's really good. You're on your altitude, you're on 90 knots. Let's do another one to the right. Clear to the right. I'm thinking. Yep, I can feel it. Yeah, we lost about 100 there or more. Okay. Get yourself stabilized. This altitude's good, 2,300. And speed's good. Yeah. All right. Try another one. I think that was to standards. You definitely gained less than 100. So yeah, so you're already kind of doing the standards, which is really cool. A lot of students don't get close to that for a while. So
Awesome.
That's a good sign.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we can turn back, maybe back towards the west, and I'll get out my goggles for you.
180 to the west.
Okay. And we'll check for traffic as you turn. Traffic.
If we have time today, can we do emergency
Oh, sure. That's a good idea. As we did a couple of those last time, right?
Yep.
You want to do the emergency approach and landing, which is kind of the normal, just engine failure, or do you want to do the emergency descent, which is like a fire?
What we did last time.
Well, that was like fire, right?
Yeah.
The quick one. Yeah, okay, cool. Alrighty. I have controls, and you can put on the goggles.
Right, you have controls?
Yeah. And I'll make a note of the time we're starting. Okay, you have controls whenever you're ready.
I've got controls.
Alright, we're starting off at 76.4. Alrighty, let's do a climbing left turn up to an altitude of 3,500, heading of east.
3,500 heading of east.
Yep.
Okay.
Climbing left turn.
Climbing left turn. All right. Full power.
You got it. Standard rate turn. So, shallow turn. The wingtip should be on the tick. There you go.
Going to east.
Yep. Right. Wingtip should be there.
Too much.
There you go.
Gotcha. All right. And went too far.
Yeah. Nice. So it's nice and gentle. Always fairly close to straight and level. I mean, you're not doing steep banks. You're not doing crazy pitch ups. Keep on climbing.
Power going to 35.
Yeah, it's 3,500. So if you get into the clouds and you do, if you're rough on the controls, if you pitch the nose up really quickly or too much, that will induce vertigo. And vertigo basically means your body will feel like it's doing something that's not really happening.
Okay.
So you might feel like the aircraft is rolling when it's really level. The only danger of vertigo is if you listen to those feelings. The remedy for vertigo is rely on the instruments. Just believe with the instruments. But it's kind of scary. I mean, you're already stressed out. You're in the clouds you're not supposed to be, and you've got these crazy, like your body's telling you 100% that you're turning to the right, you know, and everything in your body wants to respond to that. And so you just have to be really disciplined and say, no, the instrument says I'm level. I'm going to fly what the instruments tell me. turn to 4,500, heading 300.
00 to 4,500.
Yep. Alright, that's good. Okay, very good. I'm just looking for some traffic here. Let's just stay where we are for now, just for a minute, because of traffic.
Fine, 5549 over Base Creek, heading.
There's traffic. Where is he at? They're about 1,000 feet above us. I'm just going to let him pass over before we climb again. They're well above us. Alrighty, let's do a climbing left turn to a heading of 150, and let's go up to 5,500.
150, heading at 150, 5,500.
Yep. Alright, and heading left turn 150. Got full power, right? Yep. Okay.
$1,500.
Oh. right, very good. Now let's do a descending left turn, like down to 4,000. Left turn all the way around to our current heading. So 360-degree turn back to 150, down to 4,000.
Under 4,000.
Yeah.
And RPM?
Your discretion. Maybe go back to 2,000 or even less, whatever you like. Let's do the descent at, let's pull it back to 2,000. And let's descend at 80 knots. So you can pitch down the nose a little bit. Knots. Yeah.
Heading of?
All the way around to 150.
150.
Yeah. I'm going to pull let's pull the power back to 15. And still maintain your 80 knots and get down to 4,000 feet. Heading at 150. There we go. You can just descend down to 4,500.
4,500.
Yep.
150.
Yep. Alrighty.
50.
Alrighty. Alrighty. Alright, let's turn right 30 degrees to heading of 170. Right turn.
Right turn 170.
Yep. Okay. 170 would be 10 to the left of the south. South is 180, but you're at about 160, I think. That's about right. Alrighty, I have controls. You can take off the glasses.
Alright, you have controls?
Yep. Cool. I'll take those, and you can take controls.
I got controls.
And we're clear. As we turn, I check for traffic, so whenever you're ready, we can do another emergency descent. I can walk you through it again if you want.
Huh?
You want me to walk you through that?
So we're going to go 1,500, carpet on.
Carpet before the 15.
Okay,
Yeah.
carpet, 1,500,
Yeah.
white arc,
Yeah.
full flap.
Yeah.
And then idle out.
Yeah.
Turn 45
Yeah.
and maintain. Now, I had a question I emailed you about. You said to maintain 65, but the POH says to 80.
Oh, it says maintain 80? Well, let's do it that way. You mean the maneuvers handbook that I gave you?
Yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay.
I think the main thing is that you stay in the wide arc, but the bottom line is 80 is going to give you a greater rate of descent. So that's actually a better advice.
Okay. All right. So we're at 4,600.
And we'll go down to 2,000. We'll cover at 2,000 feet.
Cover at 2,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So RP on. 1,500.
Yeah. And you don't have any clouds down below, do you?
Negative.
Okay, cool.
Okay, 1,500. It flaps down. Idle.
Down. All right, get the nose down. You're already at 55. So get your airspeed at 80 before you.
Want the airspeed at 80?
Yeah. Yep. Definitely in the wide arc is what you want. There we go. Okay, and you want about 45 knots. 55. There we go. 80 knots, so you're getting out of the wide arc, which can damage the aircraft.
I need to pull up more.
Yep.
I need to give a little bit of throttle.
Yep.
Every 1,000 feet.
Yep. All right, 45 knots, 60.
Right, 30 to 45.
Looking outside, looking for traffic, looking at your field.
In full throttle, goes down, car feet off, flaps one at a time.
Alright. Well, you've obviously studied the maneuver, so you kind of got the sense in, which is really good.
Altimeter 29er, 9er. RNAV approach in use, arriving and departing, runway 34 left and runway 34 right. Noticed airman. Hazardous weather information for Western Washington available on flight service frequencies. Advise on initial contact. You have Sierra.
Oh, it's still the same.
Time to hit back already?
Yeah. Report information. Sierra 1753 Zulu. Wind 340 at 3.
Okay.
Visibility 10. 1000 scattered. Ceiling 1600 overcast. Temperature 12, dew point 9er. All temp.
Alright, we got Sierra, same as before.
3-2 golf. Good day.
When we get over here, we'll call over useless bay full stop with Sierra. Looks like the clouds, I don't know, I feel like they've gone up a little bit. You probably want to get down to 2,000 because I think we're going to have some lower, there's a few clouds that are below us as we go to Payne. Did you start your training with Kim?
No, I started with Lauren for the first day,
Okay.
and then Kim second.
Okay. I need to check in on Kim and see how he's doing at SkyWest.
It wasn't Kim, it was Seth, actually.
Oh, okay, cool. Alright, you can call whenever you're ready.
Okay, so the Payne Tower Cessna 5490 Bravo at Useless Bay with information Sierra, inbound for full stop.
Yeah.
Payne Tower Cessna 5490 Bravo is over Useless Bay with information Sierra for inbound full stop.
5490 Bravo, into left base, runway 27.
Left base, runway 34 left, 90 Bravo.
Alrighty. So we're going to point to the right of the runway. You see the planes. So yeah, this is pretty good. About a heading of maybe 100. Excuse me. 00. And let's keep it over 2,000.
taking off, and there's an issue.
Yeah, stay at 2,000. Go ahead.
Is there an indicator on the runway to at what point we would go beyond that? Then, if you need to shut it off.
Nope. Nope. As far as like, you mean like the engine, you have trouble before liftoff?
Yeah. Is there a certain spot on the runway that you use as a marker just for yourself to know? Okay, if I'm beyond that point, then.
Probably the best thing to do is to, just do it anyway. If you go aboard to take off. If you have any doubt, just shut it down.
Full stop, 3-4 left. Archer 30322 tower, fly northbound mid-channel. You can expect a right base entry.
Let's try to maintain 2,000 since we're over the water.
Mid-channel, right base entry 220. Archer 322, my mistake, you can expect a left base entry. You're trying to follow the Cessna about your 11 o'clock 4 miles on the base, 1,800 indicated. 30322, we're lucky. Runway 34 left, clear to land.
3-4 left, clear to land. 90 Bravo.
Jet follows now 7 o'clock, 2 miles, 2001 indicated eastbound.
Okay, let's get head down. Because these clouds are pretty much right at our altitude, so. And we're on base. I can see the runway threshold, the white at the end of the runway over there. So we'll just continue on base. And what we can do is we can go ahead and start our landing sequence. I'll do a quick check. Seatbelt, fuel selector. Good. Carby's good. Lights are on. Ignition book. Alright, let's pull it back to, let's see, carb heat, and about 1,500 on the RPMs. Get into the wide archer.
32 jet falls now about 2 o'clock, 1,900.
Alright, start descending about 8 knots. Good. Okay. Looking good.
Archer 322, make a left 270 back to the base. You'll be number 2 from the Cessna. Off your right, runway 34 left, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's left 270 for Archer 322, and we'll follow that.
You can get 20, we should be Charlie with you.
3 Charlie.
And about 70 knots.
If you're like 3 miles in, a left 36 for the base, 1,600 Archer. Get the traffic. Traffic inside 2 Charlie. And 9254 Charlie, turn tail truck on left one is also in the pattern, make right traffic, runway 348, quick take it.
Start turning now.
Yep.
767, runway 348, clear touch left.
Just turbulence we're feeling because we're slow?
Just a little bit of turbulence in there. Alright, add a little power in. There you go. Add a little power and lower those a little bit. There you get a little bit more speed in. There's about 60, which is what we want.
Charlie, number 2 on the arch on base, runway 34 left, clear land.
We'll follow that traffic on base, clear to land, 34 left.
Brakes. 2 Yeah, we're going to go Alpha 7.
Roger, Bravo, Fable, Alpha 7, contact 1.8.
Right, Alpha 7, ground port 890 Bravo. Good job, unassisted landed. Up here? It's good right here, yeah. You don't want to pull out into the taxiway because we're not cleared yet.
Number 54 Charlie, Southwest on base, runway 348, clear land.
Ground Cessna 5490 Bravo, clear of runway 34 left at Alpha 7, taxi to Regal.
Yeah, I would just say at Alpha 7. I would leave all that out. I just like to make stuff nice and brief. Just say Alpha 7 going to Regal. But before you do that, do your after landing check. Because when you call them, it means that you're ready to go. Okay. So if you still got stuff to do, get it done first, basically.
After landing checklist. Flaps up. RP hold. Lights as required.
Only need beacon on the ground.
Strobe off.
Yep, that's just for anti-collision in the air, just like landing, it's only for anti-collision in the air.
Landing lights off.
Yep.
Okay. Mixture. Under alt ground. Okay.
All good, now you can call.
Gain ground Cessna 5490 Bravo at Alpha 7, taxi to Regal.
Archer 322, Alpha 7, contact ground point 8.
Alpha 7 and ground port 8 for 30322.
Let's get on the ground frequency first.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to move over just a little bit, have controls.
Have control.
Because there's somebody pulling off behind us. There we go. Let's make room for them. Okay.
Ground is 121.8. Ground Cessna 5490 Bravo at Alpha 7, taxi to Regal.
This is 5490 Bravo, paying on taxi to Regal via Alpha Juliet Delta.
Alpha Juliet Delta 90 Bravo.
Very good.
Said it, but I don't remember what I said.
Alpha Juliet Delta.
Alpha.
And ping ground, Archer 30322, Alpha 7.
We can keep going.
West side condos.
Archer 30322, paying on taxi West condos via Echo, the Cessna there's going to be making a left-hand turn on Alpha shortly.
We're going straight ahead, right?
Oh, no, we're taking Alpha this way. This way.
Specified condos via Echo for Archer 30322.
Okie dokie. We are on Alpha. The next one will be Juliet to the right. The sign here is telling us that the next right after that sign will be Hotel 1. We don't want Hotel 1. Yeah. Over on the left there's an A with a black background that's telling us that we're on Alpha. And it's telling us that the next left beyond that sign is Alpha 6 intersection. Don't want that either. And then the next one over there, again, it's got the A with the black brown, background, which means we're on Alpha. And there's a J pointing right, so after that sign, the first right will be Juliet.
Oh, after this sign, Alpha Juliet.
Yep, you got it. And then the next sign says that the next left after that sign will be the Alpha 5 intersection. So these are all the intersections. They're all alphas. Alpha 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got it. For this alpha. And immediately on the left there's a sign that says J with a black background. It says we're on Juliet. Next right is Delta. Next left is Charlie, and we want Delta.
Delta is over here.
That's right, yep. And the green airplanes always lead you to Regal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Regal's just to the south of the tower.
Hang on, stock 90223 Charlie. Clear of runway 34 left at Alpha 7, request taxi to ATP.
Sky 9223 Charlie, paying ground taxi to ATP via Alpha Juliet Delta.
Alpha Juliet Delta is ATP 23 Charlie.
What lessons do you have today?
I only got one more, and then I got to go to the dentist. Not really.
My girls are looking forward to it today too. We're pulling them out of school early, and they're like, we love being pulled out of class early, even for the dentist.
Oh wow, nice.
Number 3, right?
Yep.
Put down electrical avionics off. Make sure I'll shut off. Beacon on. Ignition switch off. Master switch off. And control wheel lock on. Alright, thank you, sir. Time for lunch in between back-to-back lessons?
Some days I do, like today, I think I have 30 minutes.
You don't even have time to leave the airport to grab any food, do you?
Actually, maybe I have an hour, so maybe today I will have time to go get some. But some days I usually would bring it, but some days I would. Yeah, some days I was kind of starving, just live off of like.
Your bag of apples that I saw on your.
Well, I would like eat M&M's somewhere. It's not good, but everything's slowing down. I'm really grateful that it's fall now.
Yeah.
And summer it's not sustainable. The level that we work at during summer is
Crazy.
you can't keep going like that. Try to remember to take those keys out whenever you shut down and put it up here. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Don't want to be working around the front of the plane with keys in.
Okay.
kind of always.
Okay, 88769. 887.6.9. 3026.7. 3026.7. So if I subtract ending, I got 2, 1.2. All right.
I've already called over there.
Okay.
So.
Did they say if they want to talk to one?
You said I'll send somebody over.
Okay, perfect.
So they might talk to you, but,
Yeah, I'll be here in a little bit.
okay. All right.
I have the tumbler.
Okay, perfect. Hopefully they.
Easy, hopefully an easy fix.
Oh, you're the last one in it today.
Okay, fantastic. Where do you want to meet? All right.
Awesome. So today's notes were, so when you started the airplane there, when you started up, the airplane moved a little bit, so make sure you're on those brakes.
Okay.
In case there's anybody out in front or whatever. Aircraft control.
Okay.
On the safety briefing, if you want to do that, that's fine for your own training. There's no need to do it, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
You can save yourself a little time there. I know that you know how to do that. And we don't have passengers, so just apart from training, there's no need for us to do it when it's just the two of us.
Okay.
Let's see, so we talked about the clouds. Remember, ceilings are always reported. The number that they give you for a ceiling is always above ground level. So whatever.
Add 600 to it.
Add the elevation at the airport to whatever number they give you, and that's going to be what it will display on the altimeter.
Okay.
When you enter those clouds.
Okay.
Generally, I recommend, and most of the instructors do, when we do the ground run-up, which the run-up is another word for the pre-takeoff check when you run the engine up to 1700, all that stuff. Typically, we want to do that facing into the wind. So like today, we came down taxiway. We were on Gulf, coming down to runway. We had the area for doing the run-up, and then it comes over here. And then you enter the runway over here.
Yep.
Right there. So the fact that they were using runway 34 left
means it's coming down.
The wind's coming from this way.
So we should have been facing the opposite.
Yeah. What I usually do is I kind of taxi along as close as I can to the edge.
Okay.
And then just kind of point the aircraft into the wind like that.
Okay.
And so there's plenty of room over here for another Pearson. And also I'm not sticking out. I come back here so I'm not sticking out into the taxiway.
Okay.
Let's see. Steep turns, I was pretty impressed that you did fairly good. Your left turn, you got it to standards really quickly. And the right turn, I think you struggled a little bit. But I think you're not going to have much trouble getting those to standards.
Okay.
The simulated instrument, you did well with the climbing and descending turns. Part of what we're doing with that is we have to get a total of 3 hours before you can take your check ride. So we just do some of that from time to time.
Okay.
I know you don't want to do the full on. Like it's kind of not much fun to do a full hour at a time, so I kind of chunk it up. Let's see. Emergency descent was good. You got pretty slow. You got to about 55 knots as you were entering the maneuver. So.
So entering the maneuver, I should just pitch the nose down?
Yeah, as soon as you get...
At what point do I do that?
As soon as you get those full flaps in, you can go ahead and pitch the nose down.
Okay.
For the 80. So that, get the full flaps. You can pitch down, pull the power back to idle, and then go ahead and just roll into the 30 to 45 degree bank.
Okay.
And keep it no more than 45. You were getting up to probably 55. You were getting a little steep on that bank today, a little.
Okay.
So, but you did well with that. You rolled out and recovered properly at 2,000 feet. Let's see. And then definitely keep the altitude, control the altitude with pitch, but definitely don't go above that wide arc because the wide arc is there to protect you from damaging the flaps. If they get too much speed, it's going to...
When I was practicing it, it was easy because I was targeting the 65 like you had said. But since we're doing the 80, it's like right there, right at the edge of that wide arc.
Yeah. And honestly, we can do it slower if you want to. The ACS, which is the standard for the check ride, doesn't. Let me pull that up. This one's. So the ACS for emergency descent. It says bank angle. The standards are bank angle 30 to 45 degrees. And then speed, it says appropriate airspeed plus 10 minus 0. Plus 0 minus 10. So the appropriate airspeed. So it doesn't say what the appropriate airspeed is. But what do we know? Well, number one, we know that it needs to be in the wide arc because you have flaps in. And number two, we know that a higher speed is going to give you a higher descent rate. And this is all about descent rate. So you kind of get to choose. So maybe you could say 75. And if the guy asks you why 75, you could say, well, two reasons. Number one, it's in the white arc.
Okay.
And number two, it is, it's
To get down faster.
it's a higher speed. We're not so close to the edge of the white arc that I'm going to risk going into the white arc. You know, you could say that, you know, I was flying it at 80, but I would notice that sometimes I would get a little bit out of the white arc. So I'm flying it at 75 because it's a faster, it's towards the upper end of the white arc, but it's not too close to the edge that I risk going out. And as long as you give them a reasonable
I see.
explanation of what you've chosen.
Okay.
Because there's no really given speed. Okay.
Okay.
And you did an unassisted landing today, which I think it was your first one, if I remember properly.
Sweet.
So that was, you landed the plane by yourself and did good. Any questions?
Yeah, I had a couple quick questions. One, since we didn't do slips and skids today, I will ask you next time.
Okay.
Besides looking at an emergency checklist during all the different types of emergencies, you know, the fires, the electrical fire versus engine fire, how do you know when and why you need to turn off the carb heat?
Apart from
Like sometimes
emergencies.
some of them say you turn off the carb heat on like the second or third procedure.
Yeah. So carb heat is on to prevent carburetor ice. So pretty much in normal operations, we would always have the carb heat on if the RPMs are below the green arc, which is about anything below about 2,000 RPMs. If you look on the tachometer, there's a green arc.
Yeah, 2,000 to 2,500.
Up to, yeah. So anytime you're below that, if you're lower RPMs, the engine's going to be cooler, right? Just that's the way engines are. The higher you run them, the hotter they are. So if you reduce it below that amount, engine's going to be cooler, and so it's a higher chance of carburetor ice. So that's the only time you need it to be on. So anytime you're in the green arc, you can turn it off. Anytime you're below the green arc, you can turn it on in normal operations. Apart from that, you would use it anytime that you had a rough engine, which could possibly be carb ice. If you had an engine failure, I would definitely pull that on.
How does that help?
Well, if the engine roughness was caused by carburetor ice, then turning on the carb heat would heat that up and melt that. I had carb ice once, and it wasn't really rough engine. It was kind of like the RPMs were like kind of going, they were decreasing, and then they were coming back up, and then they were decreasing again, coming back up. And I was a pretty new pilot, so I freaked out for a few minutes, and then I said, oh, carb heat, turn it on, it fixed it. So
Instantly? How long?
it seemed like this was like in the early 90s, but yeah, my memory is that it fixed it pretty quick. So yeah. So as far as apart from emergencies, if you're not in the green arc, you should have your carb heat on.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. On the sectional charts, it says, you know, runway is either going to be left or right pattern. Is it possible for tower to change that?
Absolutely. Yep.
On the fly, at will.
Yep.
Okay.
They can have you fly a different pattern, and they'll do it from time to time. So over here,
so like if I was doing a cross-country flight and I was planning a flight to an airport and it said left pattern, I pretty much take that with a grain of salt, but keep that in mind because
if it's an uncontrolled airport, wouldn't take it with a grain of salt because you don't have a tower there to tell you those things. And most of the places you'll be flying, definitely as a student, you're going to be going mostly to uncontrolled airports. So you're just going to fly the pattern as it says. It's never going to say left pattern. It's going to say right pattern. If it doesn't say right pattern, it is left.
Okay.
But here, the pattern, for example, today we were using 3-4 left and right. So the pattern for those runways is left turns on the big runway and right turns on the small runway.
Okay.
These are the legs. We came in, we were over here flying, and we called up, and he said enter left base, so we flew straight into the base and final left turns. But he might have needed, for some reason, to put us on this runway. Maybe there's a big jet coming in or something like that. He could have said enter a left base 4-3-4 right. So even though this pattern is right turns, he could have us do a left base, which would be like that.
Okay. So if he would have told us enter right base, we would have had to circle around the airport to get to that?
There's no reason that I can imagine that he would have done that. All right, if we're over here,
Right.
there's no reason he would tell us to enter a right base, or I really can't imagine there would be a reason. But if he would, you would have to say, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to just fly south and do a U-turn or something like that? You know, and he'd probably tell you what he wanted to do, but I've never heard of anything like that. Because, you know, if you're here, he wouldn't tell you to enter a right base, which is opposite direction.
Okay.
And if he did, he'd probably give you some instructions about how he expected you to do that.
So for 3-4 right, it's a right pattern.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was 1-6 left, it would be a left pattern?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So if it's 1-6, it's like this. The intention is to keep the traffic
Right, away from the other.
not over the airport.
Okay. Okay.